بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا الشمس كورت وإذا النجوم انكدرت وإذا الجبال سيرت وإذا العشار عطلت وإذا الوحوش حشرت وإذا البحار سجرت وإذا النفوس زوجت وإذا الموءودة سئلت بأي ذنب قتلت وإذا الصحف نشرت وإذا السماء كشطت وإذا الجحيم سعرت وإذا الجنة أزلفت علمت نفس ما أحضرت فلا أقسم بالخنس الجوار الكنس والليل إذا عسعس والصبح إذا تنفس إنه لقول رسول كريم ذي قوة عند ذي العرش مكين مطاع ثم أمين وما صاحبكم بمجنون ولقد رآه بالأفق المبين وما هو على الغيب بضنين وما هو بقول شيطان رجيم فأين تذهبون إن هو إلا ذكر للعالمين لمن شاء منكم أن يستقيم وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله رب العالمين.
What's up? What's happening? Happy Friday. Shalom Shabbat. Juma Mubarak. First order of business, let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if we good on a mic check. Let me double check and see. Make sure I'm in the right mic. Yeah, I'm in the right mic. Reflecto Sessions, what up? What's good, man? Appreciate you. B Smitty. What's good? What we got in there? The $40. What up? Let's Think podcast came in super early, wee hours of the morning. Let's see what's good. Assalamu alaikum. What's happening? All right, cool. I gotta look into that. All right. So yeah. What's happening, man? What's happening? Everybody click the thumbs up button for me real quick and get this party started. You know how we do. Say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, sallallahu Allah, Muhammad sallallahu Allah, Ali sallallahu Allah, Aul Bayt. So happy Friday again, Shalom Shabbat. For my brothers and sisters on the Hebrew side of the ledger, Juma Mubarak for those of us on the Islamic side of the ledger. Just flat out happy Sabbath for those of us on the Sabbath side of the ledger. Yes. All right. So we're going to have a great conversation today. War in Israel and Iran and Israel. Where is God? And the second part, can we love? Second part. Okay. So thinking the first part of the conversation, where is God? I always like to really, ponder that question. One of the greats, by far, the best president ever, Abraham Lincoln. That's really contested though. But TJ was a mug, man. But Abraham, I give it to Lincoln. You know, it's funny. You know, it's really ironic when you watch the irony of God move, right? When you have Abraham from the Bible, who is the one that makes the whole conversation of your people will be basically enslaved or a stranger, and stranger in this foreign land for 400 years. Black people historically have taken the biblical narrative and implied that upon themselves, because we was never it wasn't 400 years until 2015 or 2025, if I'm not mistaken. Because you got no 2019. Okay. And so you got 1619 documentation of slaves coming 400 years, put you at 2019. I believe a year later, you get the Jubilee Act right on time. Right on time. Not the Jubilee Act, but the whole um Juneteenth, right? Right on time. And so we took a biblical narrative and imposed it upon ourselves. Okay. Um, Modern day Israel has done the same thing, and the slaves used to also do it when they said that the Ohio River is the River Jordan, because that's the river that they had to cross on this landmass in order to get their freedom, such as the Israelites crossing over the River Jordan. And then Harriet Tubman would be called Moses. Okay. And so they took biblical narratives and applied them to themselves. Okay. And it's a very powerful thing to do if you're going to truly embody that principle and really rock out with it. So you have the story of Abraham, that's about this, strange people, your descendants to be held in bondage for 400 years. You get the slavery thing, but then the one who deals the final blow of slavery domestically, which is the final blow, is Abraham Lincoln. Abraham. Yes. And it's just it it's funny. You know what I mean? In a sense, like God is really maneuvers through the people who have the identical name so the narrative can become true. That's the beautiful thing about it, right? So when you also look into Abraham, the father of many nations, you know what I mean? Which really kind of takes me to this slide, which I dealt with this subject before. The school of Christianity, obviously the school of Judaism, and the school of Islam all come from the loins of Ibrahim, or we call Abraham. So, as I said before, don't let the devil trick us. This is important. Do not let the devil trick us. Okay. It's crafty inside of these human beings, very crafty. Now, the question of where is God today, ever present, why is God allowing this to go on? I think we have to ask real questions like this, you know. Um, how about this viewpoint? Everything is a necessary good. Even so-called evil is a necessary good. And that necessary good could be a catalyst, the catalyst for the purge in of evil, but it may come through bloodshed, warfare, but then you get a new beginning afterwards, right? So it's no different than a forest fire. They don't look cute when it's happening, but the aftermath of it allows new growth to take place and it becomes very lush afterwards, right? But the process of transmutation, no different than when we're working out, is a painful process. Now, we can go willingly, consciously, lovingly, or we can go unwillingly and sometimes unconsciously, and definitely sometimes subconsciously. Okay. Unconsciously meaning you're not aware at all whatsoever. Subconscious, you're lending. I wish I had that book, but the quote was on the war between darkness and light always persists. It's always going on. There is no such place as neutral. And either you're fighting for light and righteousness, or you're aiding and abetting evil. There is no in between. I said, wow, that's very interesting. So when I say we can go lovingly, there's a few levels to this. There's a level of the spirit realm loving where you really wholeheartedly, sincerely pray for the peace and the love and for this thing to die down, right? Prayer is supposed to be powerful. We have the ability to do this. Yes. You can also be one of the ones where it's such an agitating disgrace and disservice and wrong that you're going to be one of the ones who stand up and do something about it. Now, that's a whole nother sub chapter on how do you do something about it, right? Whole bunch of ways. But the point being, you could do something about it, either spiritually and or physically. I think I'll just leave it right there. Could do something about it. Okay. Now, the unique thing about the African American comes from a system, traditional African spirituality, that absolutely is older, predates Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, all of them. And with inside of that, there is absolutely a warrior spirit that is in that system, without a shadow of a doubt. So some of us are spiritual warriors. Okay. The Bible talks about this, Ephesians 6 and 12 talks about this evil and wickedness taking place within the realm of the cosmos, these cosmic powers. Okay. I dare say, on your personal resume between you and your Lord, do you have a sincere approach of peace and love first before you pick up your etheric sword? Because the etheric sword is powerful. It's very powerful. It was actually later called witchcraft. Yes, voodoo, hoodoo, things of that nature. The etheric sword is very powerful. But have you came from the heart first and you use that as a last resort? So something that we need to check our own internal hearts first. Spiritual warriors. To the physical warriors of legislation, which I'm gonna get a little bit into. I'm gonna throw an alley oop to the Moors today for sure. And to my physical warriors who may one day hit the ground. And just, I guess the spiritual conversation really is of no concern. It should be. But maybe the spiritual conversation is not, applicable to them, although it should be. I'm gonna bring this slide up because again, this is the white man's common consensus that the oldest language on the earth is called Afro-Asiatic, and it is at least 18,000 years before Christ. 18,000 years before Christ. You have a language system on the African continent known as Afro-Asiatic. Very interesting. Noble Drew Ali. Very interesting. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad through Master Fard Muhammad is going to tie you into this thing called the Asiatic nation. Not African, Asiatic. Sheikh Anta Diop, one of the world's profound scholars ever, the African origin of civilization, running this. Europeans are telling us that we're older than them, way older. Okay. Now, that's not a feel good conversational piece. It means truly that we have a responsibility as the genetic elders of the planet. We have a responsibility, a great responsibility as the genetic elders of the planet. That responsibility is talked about in the Quran, where I'm going to make this man be Khalifa, and the angels will obey him. And all did besides one. Yes? All right. When we look into the quick history real fast of going to deal with the top three, because the top three religions is, when I say top three, just coming from, the loins of Abraham, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam is a hot mess. But it's a known fact that in Ethiopia, there were Jews that they date back to 587 before Christ, way before a European Jew came on the scene. Judaism was in Ethiopia, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a book by another scholar called We the Black Jews by Dr. Ben. Judaism is in Ethiopia before Europeans have Judaism. Okay? That's one. When you start looking at the oldest churches on the planet, Dora Europos Church, located in Syria, and is only a 10% Christian nation, which is an Islamic nation. Aqaba Church, 97% Islam population in Jordan. The oldest churches sit in more or less what we would call Middle East, not in Europe. And when we read up on the King Gizana of Ethiopia, King Gizana II of the Aksumite Ethiopian Empire, became one of the first nations to become a Christian state in 330 AD, one of the oldest surviving Christian nations in the world. Several Christian monuments date back to King Gizana's time, such as Takaka Mariam, the Cathedral of Saint Mary of Zion. That's interesting. The Zionists today, Mary, the feminine, the best friend of God. One of the oldest Christian cathedrals on the earth, which existed nearly 300 years before Islam and 700 years before Christianity was brought to Europe by North African missionaries. So Christianity is in Ethiopia 700 years before North Africans take Christianity into the continent of Europe. So to say Christianity is a white religion, a European religion, is technically false in its origin point. Now, what you can say is they hijacked it, and today it looks like a white religion. I get you when you say that. Can't argue that. But ladies and gentlemen, we have to learn how to put things in the proper context. Give me a second. Let me turn this heat down. Hold on. It's like 70 degrees outside, and it's 75 here. Hold on. All right. So we got to learn how to get to the root of things and get out of our emotions of things, because it's just not an honest statement to say something like that's the white man's religion. The white man gave you this when you had these things first. Okay. Which means if you had these things first, are you the creator of these things? Think about that. I find it funny because this is the same region, Ethiopia, where the first Muslims are going to run to, because in the city of Mecca, they are rejecting the Prophet Salam's message of Islam. And so the Prophet is like, oh, we got to get up out of here. I tell y'all what, y'all go over to Ethiopia. There's a king, a Christian king, that has religious tolerance. The two white guys that you see here, the two Arabs bending at the king, are coming from Mecca looking for the Muslims and want him to turn the Muslims over. And I find it funny that the other people in the picture are all of dark descent. And again, this is art. You have a right to depict it how you want to depict it, but I just find it interesting that they depicted it like this. The Muslims with the head wraps on their head are dark skinned, but it's no secret that the Arabians should be dark skinned. It's like the distance of Philadelphia to New York, right? From Ethiopia to Mecca. You know what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden they just turn white because of the Red Sea is right there. No, stop it. Okay. So Islam is actually in Ethiopia before it's in Medina. Medina is important because Medina is the first city in Arabia to accept the Prophet and say, yeah, you can live here. We accept you. This became known as the Ansar community. Okay. All right. See, this stuff is important because today everything is, I call it blackwashing. I don't call it whitewashing. You washed out the black, right? You diluted it. I don't even know if I want to call it washing, because to wash something means you clean it, right? Well, I can say you cleaned it out because you deleted it. You get the point. And so now it's white Jesus. And even in Islam, in the Shia Islam, by the way, I love the Shia Islam. I do, when you understand that portion of Islam. I disagree with some things, of course, as I love all the religions. But even they depict the 12 imams as more of a European type of skin tone, when they know good and well, for sure, start when Imam number 7, he has a black mother. Imam number 8 has a black mother. Imam number 9, a black mother. Number 10, number 11 has a black mother. Number 12, the Mahdi, has a black mother. 90 something percent dark-skinned black African, but yet they get styled as this European looking imams, just like white Jesus. And we cannot ignore the fact of European society, along with, I believe, with this picture, you can say certain Arab society, has this thing where they do not wish to acknowledge black imagery historically. That's a thing. That's a serious thing. It's a real thing. So we can't sweep it under the rug. When we look into Judaism, the Jews are waiting a Messiah, but the return of a Messiah, but the Jews do not believe in Jesus Christ. They do not believe he is the Messiah coming back, because they don't even believe in Jesus Christ. This is the Jews. But they waiting a Messiah. We know for sure the Christians are waiting the return of Jesus as the Messiah. And the Muslims, guess what? The Muslims are waiting the return for Jesus, just like they Christian, to defeat a false Messiah. And they're also awaiting a figure by the name of Mahdi to come at the time of the return of Jesus. And this is interesting because it's like, well, wait a minute. When it comes to Jesus, the Muslim and the Christian believe the same thing. Jesus is coming back. It's the Jew who don't believe that. But somehow, some way, the Christian is at war with the Muslim, and the Muslim is at war with the Christian, right? Somebody's pulling some puppet strings here, okay? So let's go take a look at the Old Testament for a second. Because in the Old Testament, you have a figure known as the high priest. The high priest is interesting because he is the only one that comes and utters the divine name of God once a year. See, in the Jewish school, their name for God is Hashem, which means the name. They say his name is so special, we wouldn't even dare utter the name, and only the high priest can utter the name. So we're just going to refer to him as the name, not Lord, not God, not my God, the name, Hashem. A true Jew, I ain't talking about a Zionist. The Jews got infiltrated just like Islam got infiltrated. The Jews got infiltrated by a group of people, especially the reformist Zionists. That's different from the original Zionists. A new branch of Zionism was created, which I'll get into later and show you who to look at. So you can do your own research on this person. But they got infiltrated. Islam got infiltrated, as I showed you, by the Wahhabis, known as the Salafi, known as the Saudis of Saudi Arabia, who still run Saudi Arabia to this day. They got infiltrated. There's some infiltration that has taken place. And what appears as enemies through infiltration, this enemy and this enemy, they just may be in bed with one another because they have hijacked the religions. Why you think Iran be going at Saudi? There's a reason for that. I got a video back here. See if I still have it, about this Jewish guy or what he said about the God of the Muslims, Allah.
Do we pray to the same God?
We have the same God as the Arabs. We believe in the same God, one God. They come from the children of Abraham, of Yishmael. We come from Yitzchak, and they come from Yishmael. Allah is taken from the name from Elikah. Elikah, which is, we use that word all the time. Christians believe in the Trinity. It's a part of it, their God, who's the JC, we call him. That's not our belief at all. We're not allowed to believe in anything like that. But we have in common, we believe in the same God, Allah. That's the Arab's God, the same God that we have.
Trust me when I tell you the true Jews know. Even when I say true Jews, the white European Jew know. They know. We can't get confused and clump all of those under the Jewish banner as being part of something, because there's Jews who don't believe they even have the right to be in Israel. Israel don't even have a right to exist where it exists. That's out there on the record, okay? All right. So let's look at 1720, because I got a problem with Christians, especially black Christians, because black Christians think Muslims ain't part of the cloth of God for some strange reason. Genesis 17:20. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will surely bless him. I will make him fruitful and will greatly increase his numbers. He will be the father of 12 rulers, and I will make him into a great nation. Again, this is God talking to Abraham about his son Ishmael. Ishmael is going to be the founding father of Islam. God was with the boy, talking about Ishmael, as he grew up. He lived in the desert and he became a skilled archer. He lived in the desert of Paran, and his mother got him a wife from Egypt. Well, Paran, ladies and gentlemen, is modern day Arabia. This is not even a debate. Jews, Christians, theologians, historians agree that Paran is modern day Arabia. These 12 princes that's going to come out of Ishmael, very interesting, because Jesus got 12 disciples, Jacob got 12 tribes of Israel, we got 12 judges of Israel, right? Then it filters down into the 12 imams of Islam. That's actually in Sunni hadith. Don't y'all know that, yeah, the Shia believe in 12 divine godly leaders, the 12ers do, the largest group of Shia. But in Sunni hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that there will be 12 leaders after him. That's in the Sunni hadith. Okay? Okay. So in the Bible, if Ishmael is going to be made a mighty nation from God, who is the Christian today to not accept Islam as being legitimate, as being its own nation state ordained by the God you say you believe in? It makes no sense, right? So then here go in Deuteronomy. The Lord came from Sinai. For his people, he rose from Seir like the sun. He appeared like sunshine from Mount Paran. He came with tens of thousands of holy ones, and on his right was a raging fire for them. So he's coming like sunshine from Mount Paran, the same place that we know is the home of the Arabs, so-called Arabs, right? As formerly, I want to mess his name up, his brother Cabo would say, former Booker T. Coleman, Afrabs, because the Arabs are cousins. As the prophet said, we're family. So they're Afrabs. Here go a few verses in the Bible, chapters rather, that talks about the reunification of all the nations coming back together. Ezekiel 37, 21, 24, 24 through 28. Isaiah 11, 11 through 13, the regathering. Everybody is coming back together. All of the tribes is going to come back together and clean this up. That's Bible. So again, nobody from the Bible standpoint, Jew or Christian, especially Christian, you cannot hold the position that the tribes are not coming back together. It makes no sense. You wouldn't be a believer in the book, right? Switch to another era when the Muslims are in control of the Christian states, and we go to a place like Moorish Spain, known as Al-Andalus. Christians, like Jews, were considered dhimmis, which afforded them a protected status as a people of the book. However, the status came with limitations and obligations, including a special religious tax. Right? So there was some restriction going on, but it wasn't no persecution. Yeah, you're going to have to pay a religious tax. It is a known fact that Islam has something called a golden age, and the Jews had a golden age at the same time that the Muslims had a golden age, because their golden age happened when the Muslims were in power. And the Christians really had a golden age, but they don't want to call it a golden age. It's a dark age for them because they simply don't have political control. But in truth, they were all living together in harmony as citizens when the Christian powers wasn't inside or wasn't in control of the Islamic Moorish Spain. You saw one of the most, it's my favorite civilization in history, the most beautiful civilization. Open bath houses, toilets, you had it all. What we have today, you had it then. This is what the Quran said. Those who believe in the Quran and those who follow the Jewish scripture and the Christians and the Sabians, the stargazers, anyone or any who believe in Allah in the last day and works righteousness shall have their reward with their Lord. On them shall be no fear, nor shall they grieve. See, that's what I'm telling you. A Muslim better not ever hold a position that the Jews are not part of the book and the Christians are not part of the book, because the Quran is what I will call a continuation of the Bible. So look at the scripture at the bottom here. It says, and do not insult those that invoke other than Allah. In other words, somebody that's praying to Jehovah, somebody that's praying to Jesus, somebody that's praying to Mother Mary, somebody that's using the stars. They don't pray to stars because they already had a God. They just understood that the stars was the way that God communicate. Don't insult those unless they insult Allah in anonymity without knowledge. Yes. Thus, we have made pleasing to every community their deeds. Then to their Lord is their return, and he will inform them about what they used to do. Don't insult those who are invoking another name other than Allah. Allah made this. God made this. A Muslim is supposed to have the basic common sense. You would think everybody would have the basic common sense to say, wow, the Buddha came and gave them this revelation, and that's happening in India. And look at what they do. Wow, they're peaceful people. Wow, they're actually so amazing that when they die, their body turns into light and disappear, and only left hair and nails, and bones totally disappeared. Their teeth disappeared. In some cases, their body shrink back down to the size of a baby, and a rainbow appears. This is documented in the Tibetan rainbow body. The Taoists got this beautiful balance of longevity of health. Everybody know the ancient Chinese secrets of health. They're the ones that got that on lockdown. Wow, look at what God gave this people. Look at Islam and what they gave these people. Look at wow, look at God maneuvering all these various different religions. This is in Quran. You're not supposed to be chastising nobody. We're supposed to know this. This is just basic common sense, I would think, but it's not, because in America, you got some very ignorant Christians, especially white Southern Bible Belt Christians. So in Israel, there's a concept known as Greater Israel. And this is allegedly, they say, this is on their military uniform. That's like part of Egypt on the left-hand side, ladies and gentlemen. That's way bigger than Israel. That's part of Syria. That's part of Saudi Arabia. Greater Israel. This is their thing. This is what the map looks like. Greater Israel. We want some of Egypt. We want some of Saudi. We want some of Iraq. We want some of Syria. This is Greater Israel. This is what we're going for. Who comes up with this concept called Greater Israel? This fella here. This is who you need to investigate for your notes. I'm not going to go too far into this because I don't feel like going all the way down that rabbit hole. Ze'ev was that Jabotinsky? Ze'ev Jabotinsky. That's him. 1017 Gucci gang. Born 1017. Interesting. It's a very, very special date in the cosmos. I mean, very special. But he is going to be the one that is going to create a reformist movement within Zionism and create the concept of greater Israel, or what they call revisionist Zionists. He's the founder of revisionist Zionism. So if you want to learn more about that, you need to go look into this fella. Okay. Like I said, I'm not going to spend time here, but the mere fact that you see the term revisionist Zionist tells you that, wait a minute, hold on. This is not Zionism as it was originally. This is the Johnny come lately. Let me look into this particular fashion or faction of Zionism to see if it matches what plays out today. Okay. Do you know that in 1979 with Iran, when they had it's called the 1979 Iran hostage crisis, they released all 13 Black American hostages and kept others. And in their own words, they stated that none of what's happening was the fault of Black people, and that Black people in America were already oppressed enough in their own country. Did y'all know that? Right? Hold on, let me bring this up.
Some Black hostages and some female hostages will be released from the American embassy compound. Is that true?
The freedom of the women and blacks will be given. Women are given great dignity in Islam, and the blacks have been oppressed in the United States. Great injustice was done unto them. They were under pressure in the United States. Thus they came here. We are doing this owing to the tenets of Islam. In return, we ask nothing for their freedom. We want the Shah. Carter must return him. The world's international law agree with this principle.
I ask you.
All right. So in 1979, Iran had what's called an Iranian Revolution. The Shah at the time was, before, the head of Iran was a person named, that they call him the Shah of Iran. The Shah of Iran got sick and he sought asylum to come over into America to get treated for his cancer. Jimmy Carter, the president, allowed him to do such. When that happened, who you just saw on camera, the first supreme leader of Iran, by the way, was exiled by the Shah of Iran. They kicked him out the country because of his spiritual clout. Okay, sound familiar? Iran has a history where when the Prophet's family was being persecuted in Arabia, they went into Iran, and then some went far as Pakistan. Okay. So Iran became the new home, and this is why Iran is a Shia country, to those who follow the instructions of the Prophet. So since he had spiritual clout, the Shah of Iran, the leader, kicked him out. Now the Shah gets sick and he leaves, and then he goes to America to get treatment. As soon as he does that, the first supreme leader comes back in, and then the people go crazy and there's a revolution that takes place, and he becomes the leader of Iran. And this is why you heard him say, hand him over. So then in this 79 revolution, people take to the U.S. embassy and hold U.S. citizens hostage. They notice there's black people and women. He said, hey, black folks, hey, y'all have already been oppressive in y'all country. This ain't got nothing to do with y'all. We let y'all go. And women have always had, did they say a special place in Islam? Wow, you never hear that, right? We don't hear that. The woman is highly revered in Islam if you know what you're looking at. Okay? Her hijab ain't got nothing to do with suppression. It got everything to do with protection. Everything to do with protection. Man, I had a client slash, I know someone who was just stalked and nasty things happened to her leaving the club. Let's put it that way. Became impregnated from that incident and everything. You know what I mean? Severe womb trauma. Anyway, I've shown a video of a woman in New York City walking around with a hijab on and nobody say nothing. But then when she walking around like she about to go to the gym, she walking and dudes are literally saying, like one old head was like, I eat coochie. That's what he said. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, he just said it. You know the word he said, the P word, right? So she getting hunked at, who dudes busting U-turns and basically stalking her, walking her down the street. Yo, mom, for real. But then when she dressed like a Muslim, did nobody say anything. It's for protection that was there. So anyway, so Iran lets the black folks go, right? Now, I'm not saying that, hey, you left the white people, that's good. That's not the sentiment, what I'm saying. I want to be clear about that. But I want you to know, as black folks, we got a special responsibility to know history. And you have a responsibility to know who had your back. That's why I start when I'm on the American soil, I can show you, and I've shown you, have, people who even had slaves because they inherited slaves from their parents who had your back. A lot of people don't want to give these people props. Right? But you got to know this stuff, man. Okay? This was the brother looked traumatized. The white girl over there, like, hey, I'm getting up out of here. The brother is traumatized. Like, man, we don't do this well. No. You look, this 1979, it easily looked like he in his 30s. So he didn't grew up in some stuff. You know what I'm saying? So he traumatized. You know what I mean? So this was a real thing. So now this is where the evil ones who run the United States in the United States become the United Snakes of America. And I'm a diehard Abraham Lincoln fan. I'm Abraham Lincoln tatted, William T. Sherman tatted, Ulysses Grant tatted, right? Union soldier tatted. I love America, the foundation of America and the ideals of what it represents. Thomas Jefferson had a Holy Quran, right? And so you got some soldiers that's on our side of America. I don't see America out of the lens of America and the KKK and white supremacy confederacy is the only America that I see. I don't see America that way. America has always had two sides. And when it started off as the 13 colonies, the slave side was more dominant. And then they had to systematically and very cleverly, might I add, figure out a way to take over, to get rid of slavery and try to do it in the way that would avoid war. So let's just go through this, because this is real stuff. A lot of people don't know that George Washington in 1794-95 made it illegal for the South, because the South is the one that's really participating in slaves, made it illegal to export slaves out of this country. You can't do that. That's a great measure, because if you got any type of foresight within less than 100 years from now, you might need these Africans if this turns into a civil war. Oh, snap. It turned into a civil war in less than 100 years. And these Africans came through 1st Kansas. Literally, that's the name of the army. The 1st Kansas and 54th Massachusetts. So salute the 1st Kansas, 54th Massachusetts. Let the colors in. This the art of war. Let the games begin. South Carolina, sneaky shit you did. You fired the first shot, sneaky little bit, right? So this is civil war. You got to know who was on your side. So you had people who 100% was on our side. And you had to figure out a way to try to do this. So George Washington makes slavery, exporting slaves, illegal. Good move, because you're going to need these people. And then we end up joining United States colored troops, and we end up coming back down south shooting at the slave master. Alhamdulillah. Gets no better than that. That's beautiful retribution. Yes. Thomas Jefferson makes it illegal to import slaves into the country. 1808, January 1st. This is in the Constitution, that the United States government, federal government, would not interfere with the institution of slavery on the importation of such persons, slavery, such persons, until 20 years. It's 1788 at the time. In 20 years, it's going to be 1808, January 1st, 1808, the first day of 1808. Thomas Jefferson pens the law that says it is illegal to import slaves into this country. So Thomas Jefferson kills the importation, and Abraham Lincoln kills the domestication of the act. We don't know this. We just know Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln is quoting who all throughout his debates with Stephen Douglas, a racist from Illinois, who created the Kansas-Nebraska Act. You don't remember this stuff because when you was in history class, they taught it to us too young. Our brains weren't focused on that. This is the information that we're really supposed to get in the last few years of high school. So when we come out into the world, we got a proper understanding. You ain't supposed to give me this stuff in the 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade. I'm not going to retain it then. Right? So the Kansas-Nebraska Act says, hey, that makes the Missouri Compromise illegal. But then what's the Missouri Compromise? Hold on, I'm going to get to this Iran-Iraq thing because we got to know this stuff. The Missouri Compromise, Missouri wants to come into the United States, the Union, as a slave state. At the time, it's like 13 free states, 13 slave states. You say, okay, you want to do that? We're going to make a new state called Maine. Maine, you're going to come in as a free state to check these people. That's why I say, whoa, they ain't playing chess and checkers. These dudes playing states. That's deep. So Massachusetts, we're going to cut up this little back part of this, Massachusetts colony, and we're going to call that Maine. Go look and see when Maine became a state, and go look and see when Missouri became a state. Maine became a state 18 months before Missouri became a state, but it was Missouri who applied for statehood first, and it's called the Missouri Compromise. Somebody wasn't allowing the slave states to try to get power. That's we need to know. Who is that? Who were they? Right? Okay. The Missouri Compromise also said no slaves will be allowed north of 36 degrees north latitude. We're going to draw a line in the entire United States. 30 Stone Mountain in Atlanta is like 33 degrees north. So go a little bit more north than that. Okay. It's around Memphis, Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. So, but anyway, Missouri Compromise, you will have no slaves above this line, period. This is the Missouri Compromise. Somebody rocking with us. The Missouri Compromise gets pushed back by the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Who is penning the Kansas-Nebraska Act? Stephen Douglas, who is the opponent running against Abraham Lincoln in a senator's race in Illinois that Lincoln lost. The Kansas-Nebraska Act says the issue of slavery is totally dependent upon the sovereign of the territory. The federal government, you have no right to tell this territory, this state, what they can do with slavery. Let them decide. So it became something known as Bleeding Kansas in history. Bleeding Kansas is so bloody, and the issue is over what? The citizens want slaves. Another group of citizens says, no, you will not have slaves. And we ain't going to allow you to have slaves in this new territory called Kansas. So it's called Bleeding Kansas. And it takes place, what, 1859, I think it is, all the way to 1865, the beginning of the Civil War. Who goes to Bleeding Kansas, into Lawrence, Kansas? The infamous John Brown. Yes, John Brown goes to Kansas and say, yo, who want this smoke? So the white boys who want slaves, they're called the Jayhawkers. Yes? No, they're called the Border Ruffians. And the white boys who fighting against them are called the Jayhawkers. Okay? This is history. We don't know this. Okay? So now that we got some people on our side, we know now we have to come over here. Let's come over here to this Iran-Iraq war that took place in 1980 to 1988. In this war, the United States is funding and supplying who? Iraq. Look at the timeline, 80 to 88, because there's going to be some black shit that's about to happen in our culture. Okay? All right. So ask the question, did the United States support Iraq? Yes, the United States provided substantial support to Iraq during the Iran-Iraq war from 80 to 88, okay? They're providing intelligence, military support, economic aid, things of that nature, okay? Look into it yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, I know a little bit of history. There is something called the Iran-Contra affair. In 86, this shit hit the press hot. Reagan's secret dealing with who? Iran. Oliver North, remember? Still alive to this day. Yes? What happened? Let me see if I can pull up the map. Let's pull up a map. This is 86. Mind you, Iran and Iraq is at war. The United States is secretly selling guns to Iran while supporting Iraq. They're going to take the money from the Iranians and come over to Central America in Nicaragua and fund the Contras, the guerrillas, to overthrow their government. This what the whole scandal was about. And it got blown up because an airplane flying into Nicaragua was shot down and the whole thing was exposed. The Congress had a law that the United States could not go down there and get involved. So they say the CIA running a secret covert op, like, listen, we already support them, but let's sell some weapons. We support Iraq. Let's sell some weapons to Iran since it's already a war and they need some guns. Let's play both sides. Now, some going to say that the stuff that they sold them was they gypped them. They gave them baking soda. They didn't give them no pure work. Back in the day, we used to call it fleece. They fleeced them. They gave them some janky guns, allegedly. Allegedly. So they take the money and then they go fund the guerrillas in South America or Central America to overthrow their government. And I said, well, wait a minute. When you start dealing with the Contras and overthrowing the government, if I'm not mistaken, that may be Noriega, right? Wait a minute. You start with Noriega, we start dealing with that coke talk, right? Right? Yeah. Remember Freeway Ricky Ross, who came home a couple years ago? The real Rick Ross? They make the TV show Snowfall. Snowfall was good as a motherfucker. Franklin was acting his ass off in that joint. All right? Yeah. I watch these kind of things at time. All right? So Snowfall, the movie, is depicted off of Rick Ross. The real Rick Ross. Freeway Rick Ross. Yes? Freeway Rick Ross, I believe it was somewhere in the 80s that's when, they was on his head. Like, hey, he was making all this money because allegedly the CIA in them is bringing in cocaine It's flooding California, then ultimately the United States. Hence, crack cocaine becomes the thing in the 80s. You see how it's connected now? And they're taking the dope money and they're going and they're financing the Contras to overthrow. I'm quite sure it was Noriega. Okay. Dirty. First Bush was head of the CIA at the time, who would later become president. Okay. All right. So a little bit of that history to show you how it connects to culture. All right. So let's move into a part 2 of this. All right. Let's talk about Islam in the West. May the peace and blessings be upon Noble Drew Ali and the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Because this is what is really feared. This is feared. It was feared. But I'm going to make this statement right now. It's so weak right now, it ain't even feared. But you also in a whole new timeline. You're in a whole new timeline because that aggression of that enemy, he ain't got that smoke. We haven't did anything far as organization and economic progress of independence to warrant no smoke. But you also just live in a timeline that's totally different where you can get a lot of things off. If you're going to go, you better go. The window is open to go. See, do y'all ever wonder where is white supremacy when Umar Johnson gets to open up a school or attempt to open up a school and he's never said, hey, the white man sent me a letter and kidnapped me and told me I better not? No, we don't see that. Where's white supremacy when your Tariq Nasheed can open up an African-American museum? See, I think military strategy, and it can only be a few reasons why the white man ain't rolled up on you. Either the ish that you kicking and representing is so whack and weak, it ain't even worth their time. And you don't even know that. You think it's the truth, but they ain't messing with you because it's just whack and weak and it ain't going to go nowhere. That's interesting if that's the analysis that the enemy has. 2, they're waiting for a future time, but that makes no sense. Why wait to galvanize and get more strength and get it off the ground? That don't make no sense to me. The only logic behind that will be, yeah, because once you build it and we crush it, that's going to put more fear into people not to ever do it again. So we're going to let you get somewhere. So maybe that's the mode. But if that's the move and that's what they own, man, goddamn, when do we ever get some goddamn backbone around here? I'm curious. When do we ever get some backbone around here? Or 3, the threat ain't what you think it was or is, because our perception is based off an old time thing when the enemy got his ass beat. See, we always got to remember, don't ever lose sight. The enemy of Black America at his prime got his ass beat and was removed. This is why it's important for us to champion, to know and champion the spirit. I can't stress that enough. The spirit of those who are on our side. Okay? Now, Islam in the West. I got a dream. Me, Martin Luther King today. I got a dream. Part of my dream deals with this 40 acres. Now, there was no mule ever mentioned. What you have to know, ladies and gentlemen, that 40 acres come from Special Field Orders number 15. William T. Sherman. And if we blow this up on that landmark, on January 12th, 1865, U.S. Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton, guess what his nickname is? Little Mars. Abraham Lincoln called him Little Mars. Okay? Little Mars in general, William T. Sherman. Oh man, salute. I told you I got a tattoo of William T. Sherman in my mind on my forearm. I served in the Civil War under William T. Sherman. You can't tell me I didn't. I absolutely did. He is the one who wrote 40 Acres and the Mule, ladies and gentlemen. Again, mule wasn't mentioned, but it was talking about the coastal areas of Florida and South Carolina. This is what we have to know. I got to look at you when I say this. Okay? This was never a legislation by Congress as a law that Black Americans, African Americans get 40 acres, period, anywhere. It was a military measure during the Civil War. These white boys down south, in this particular case, South Carolina and Florida, has vacated. The Civil War is almost over. It's almost over. It's not over until when? April 9th, 1865, General Lee surrenders to Grant in Appomattox, Virginia. Go back to the headstone when they have this meeting here. When is this meeting? January the 12th, 1865. We got 3 months to go, ladies and gentlemen. So this is not a law. It's just a special military order that you Black folks will have up to 40-acre parcels. April 9th, General Lee surrenders. April the 14th, not even a whole week later, bam, Abraham Lincoln is shot in the head. He dies the next day, April 15th. His vice president becomes president, Andrew Johnson, and he says, get rid of Special Field Order number 15. That's not what I would do as president. That's not what we're doing. So let alone it ain't even something that was up in the Congress, that field order got rescinded. And you say, well, why would he do that? Because he was a former slave owner from Tennessee. Well, why would Abraham Lincoln have him as a vice president? Even back then, they couldn't even pick who their running mates were. But I'll tell you why that's a good strategy, though. The re-election for Abraham Lincoln is 1864. If Abraham Lincoln don't get back into power, do you know that the slave master Democratic president could say the Civil War is over, everybody back into slavery, because we're now in control of the presidency? That could have happened, ladies and gentlemen. See, this is why we got to know this stuff. Because I don't think we think about that alternative. Abraham Lincoln had to get reelected. So instead of us having a ticket that looked like we're just abolitionists and pro-Black people, let me go get someone who did not bear arms against the United States of America, Andrew Johnson from Tennessee. He didn't join the Confederacy. Even though he's a slave master, he still has enough moral conviction for the government to say, I'm not going to turn against the government. Whatever the government decide, that's what the government decide. I'm not going to go bear arms against the government and try to form my own nation. You, sir, will be a good running mate so we can swindle the South into giving us votes. Because if we look like we too strong abolitionists from up north, we too strong pro-Black, the South may say, this war is going to just take more and more time. So we need a diversion. So you go get him. So you don't understand the art of war. That's the problem I have with niggas. I'm going to be honest about it. Conscious Black folks trying to articulate white supremacy is all they do is tell you how superior the white man was, but they never can articulate how the white supremacists got their ass beat. I'm gonna say those words. I'm gonna say ass. That's the most I'm gonna go this year. I ain't gonna say no other words because I don't think ass is that bad. Jackass. Okay. All right. That's what happened. So let me show you where the Moors need to go. This is going to blow your mind. Y'all ready for this? Is y'all ready for this? Yeah, I'm going to tell you where the Moors need to go. If you are a Moor, Let's Think podcast, I need you to tell your Moorish brothers this. Because this is the play. This is the play right here. Let's go to the 1866 Treaty of the Chickasaw and Choctaw, two so-called Native American tribes. Article 2, let me blow this up. Article 2, the Choctaw and the Chickasaws hereby covenant and agree that henceforth neither slavery nor involuntary servitude otherwise than in punishment of a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted in accordance with the laws applicable to all members of the particular nation shall ever exist in said nations. Let me stop right there first. Why do the United States feel it necessary to tell the Choctaw and Chickasaw ain't no slaves allowed in your territory? Because they had slaves. Okay. The Cherokee had the most slaves out of the so-called 5 civilized tribes. Google me. Go look into it yourself. But it's going to get juicy in Article 2. Let's bring this up. I'm sorry, Article 3. The Choctaws and Chickasaw, in consideration of the sum of $300,000, hereby cede to the United States the territory west of 98 degrees west longitude. Let me stop right there just so you can know what that looks like. So for the sum of $300,000, you're going to cede the land over to the government. Now, mind you, this 1866, 1865 is what? Civil War. 1865 is what? The 13th Amendment passed. Slavery is now illegal. Yes? So now the next play is land. Immediately after slavery, the next play is land. And I can show you in the 1862, I believe it was, Homestead Acts of Abraham Lincoln was going after the land first while the Civil War had just started. I can show you this. So this is anything to the left of this line is what they're talking about. Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas territory, and so forth. Okay? All right, let's come back to it. They hereby cede to the United States a territory west of 98 degrees west longitude, known as the leased district, provided that the said sum shall be invested and held by the United States at an interest not less than 5% in trust for said nations until the legislatures of the Choctaw and the Chickasaw nations, respectively, shall have made such laws, rules, and regulations as may be necessary to give all persons of African descent resident in the said nation, not state, nation. I'm going to say it again. Nation, not state. At the date of the Treaty of Fort Smith, need to look into that, ladies and gentlemen. Moors, look into that. And their descendants, heretofore held in slavery among said nations, all the rights, privileges, immunities, including the right of suffrage, which means to vote, of citizens in said nations, except in the annuities, monies, and public domain claimed by or belonging to said nations respectfully. In other words, they're citizens. They're going to have some rights over here in your nation, but they may not deal with the monies, the annuities, monies, and public domains claimed by or belonging to the said nations respectfully. And also to give such persons who were residents before and their descendants, here it is, 40 acres each of the land of said nations on the same terms as the Choctaws and Chickasaw. Hello, I stopped it right there just to convey that point. You can look into this. This is called the 1866 Treaty of the Choctaw and Chickasaw. Read it yourself. Hit Control F and type in African and see how many times the word African popped up. About 5 or 6. Hello, they're going to play. There go to play. So when you start getting into the Choctaw, Chickasaw, you got to know something about Indian territory. What do the Choctaw and Chickasaw have? They got casinos, baby. Yes, casinos. That's money. Young Moolah, what did they do 2 years ago? Indian gaming operations, tribal casinos in the U.S. generated a record $44 billion in gross gaming revenue. Who got your bread? See, it's never talked about that those Indians had slaves. And I really want to have a conversation with Moors because I really want to see, listen, man, I want to see, because something ain't adding up to me. You tell me that the Native Americans were the Moors. That's really you. Well, okay, because I get it. In Africa, the Dahomey tribe, the indigenous African spiritual practitioners absolutely enslaved other tribes. The Dahomey tribe slaved other people. Hence, the Woman King was all about that. That's a fact. Some say they actually enslaved the Muslims. Blacks turn on blacks all the time. And in that word, Dahomey, we actually use that. I pour 40 to the homie and I take a sip and I take a, and right, the homie. Hey man, chill out, man. That's the homie. Hey, yo, homie, what up? That's West African Dahomey traders. That's why you can't fuck with the homies. Oop, I said the F word. Can't mess with the homies. Yes? Can't mess with them. Right? So I'm not understanding though how these Native Americans are the Moors. I'm gonna be honest about it. I'm not understanding it. I'm not saying that the Moors didn't come here and wasn't first on expeditions, but we be acting like it was an empire over here, and I really want to see some concrete evidence of this. I just want to see it. I ain't gonna say it don't exist. I just want to see it. Because when we start getting into it, hey, here goes some people that actually is enslaving you. So are you enslaving each other? And that's fine if that's what it is, because hey, it happened in West Africa, right? But I digress. The point, as we just saw, the United States government wasn't Morocco, wasn't no Islamic Arab nation, African nation. That's why I be saying it. I don't care. It's the truth. Didn't know Native American, indigenous, Indians, or Moors, whatever we want to call them, on this land. Look at those African women and children. And I say, forget the men, because you a man. If you're going to let another man enslave you, you a sucker. So stay a slave. But I ain't going to allow this white man to do this to you as a woman and your children in my backyard, on my land. That's like, I own land. This house, my backyard, I got 12 lots of land. Like, okay, you mean to tell me somebody can just kidnap somebody, hold them forcibly on my own land and make them do things, and you're going to whip them and stuff? I'm not about to let you do that on my land. So as Native Americans, you stood by idly and watched that. There's nothing on the record books that said Tecumseh from Ohio, he went at the forming United States because he didn't want them to set up shop in his territory. It wasn't about him saying, oh, slavery is an injustice and what they doing to these people. Our people, if we supposed to be the same people, hey, look, them are people. See, that's what really don't make sense to me. If the Native Americans are the original Moors, then why are you looking at your brothers and sisters from West Africa? Why are you looking at them being enslaved and you never did anything to launch an offensive to stop it? See, some of this shit be rhetoric, man. And I'm just gonna have to curse today. And some of this shit just be rhetoric. It's feel good. Something ain't adding up. Right? So, yeah, clean this up. I gotta figure this out. But I'm telling you that nobody, it's not on the record book. No Native American group had any sympathy and love for the African who was enslaved and launched a war to help you get out that situation. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. And I don't think they looked like us, to be honest with you, Nick. Because it's a clear distinction when I read these Civil War memoirs. I'm reading with the general. The general was there, who's navigating this land and telling personal accounts. I ain't looking what somebody said. I'm looking at what this person said. There's a clear distinction between Native American and African. They're not the same. How they the same anyway when it's like, hold on. You mean to tell me you in Africa, you build in Timbuktu, you done been built that. You from Ghana and got the Ghana Empire, you done been did that. You done went up in Moorish Spain and you done did what looks like more civilized culture, for lack of a better word, modern day, today type of stuff. But all of a sudden, when you get to America, you ain't got no shoes. And you walking around barefooted in little flint arrows, and that's what you using as weapons. Something ain't adding up. I've been to these sites here in America, so-called mound sites, and looking at the artifacts. Something ain't adding up, man. Something ain't adding up. But it's funny, though, because, again, at least when we come down south, we see that the 5 civilized tribes actually joined the Confederacy in the Civil War. So if they our own people, they traitors. And if they not us, they was just enemies of us. Either way it go, they still going to be enemies to us. But the fact of the matter is this. Didn't no red, black, and green pro-Africa come and get us out of slavery? My beautiful Haitian brothers, I wish they could have, but they didn't. They didn't have the naval thing to come up into America and help get us out the situation. Didn't no Islamic country get us out the situation. Who got us out the situation? So you gotta have a truthful heart when you talk about this stuff, man. It hurts, and this is how you can really test the sincerity of an individual. What are you doing this for? What are you running off at the mouth for? Is it truth? Or is it or have you got wrapped in the dialogue of issuing a racist narrative, and because that keeps you relative and you get money from speaking engagements, you now got to keep putting people back into slavery of the past because you can't even tell the truth and say, listen, man, name 5 white boys who put in work on your behalf that's dead in the cemetery right now that caught a bullet for you. And you can't name Abraham Lincoln. Name 5. I'll wait. Can't do it. Can't do it. Instead, what we'll do is we'll make up some stuff and say, man, Abraham Lincoln ain't free no black people. You really think he freed black people? Man, that was a trick from the North, man. Abraham Lincoln ain't free no black people. What's wrong with y'all? Y'all ain't never free. You still a slave because you got a job, brother. Slavery ain't over, brother. That's what they try to tell you. Tell that to Harriet Tubman. Slavery ain't over. Tell that to my cotton picking grandmother that was picking cotton in Tennessee. Slavery ain't over. Come on, man. Gonna have to stop this shit. See, when I get in this mode, them invitations stop coming. Right? Them invitations stop coming. We don't want to have this conversation. Want to have this conversation. Want to be on the white supremacy nipple all your life. It's the most homosexual. I don't care. I'm saying it. It's the most nastiest, yuckiest thing ever to have an ideology, and that's your claim to fame, talking about how some man is superior to you, and walk around here talking about you believe in ancestors and God. You a mother lie. You a lie. You don't believe in no God and no ancestors. Every time you turn around, you keep on talking about the dang on white man is supreme. Get out of here, man. Thought it was la ilaha illallah. That's what I thought it was. All right. Now let me shift gears. All right. Let me shift gears. Let's talk about the more loftier things, the love aspect of things. And it's coming from the spirit of love when I had, the previous conversation. All right. Because the question is, see, how can we love inside of all this turmoil? And then when I say all this turmoil, I ain't just talking about, most people don't even care about this Iran and Israel stuff. And they may not see how it affects them. It may not even affect them. And that's fine. But I want to talk about love real quick. Excuse me. So you have love as an absolute eternal condition. Our consciousness determines frequency that we give and what we receive. I can only give you what my conscious mind has capacity of, a known capacity of. I ain't talking about potential, I'm just talking about what I currently know. Okay. Excuse me. There's no such thing as unconditional love, ladies and gentlemen. That is a pseudo new age concept that really got us effed up. It got us messed up. Because if we think that's the ideal goal of unconditional, and every single thing in creation is conditional, the ideal goal is falsehood. And we are applying a false potential as something that we can embody. And then I wonder, is this the reason why we don't have it, i.e., the love? First of all, can I prove there's no such thing as unconditional? I would really say the burden of proof is to prove that it is something that's unconditional. The moment that you just named the state unconditional, I ask, what is it? What exists in this state called unconditional? Forgiving, loving, no matter what. Oh, there go conditions right there. Soon as you define something, that thing has a condition. Because if I change something in it, it's no longer that thing that you're defining. So that's a condition. There's no such thing as unconditional. And it dawned on me that what that statement is really referring to is eternal. See, we say unconditional love. God loves us no matter what. That's not true when it comes to scripture. That's not true. There ain't no unconditional loving. There's no unconditional love God from antiquity. See, especially when you start going back, when you get outside of, once you get past the Bible, you about to start dealing with multiple things. You about to start dealing with Shu, Tefnut, Geb. You're going to start dealing with qualities, an air God, a fire God. And these are just qualities of the one God, but these qualities have limits because water and fire can't mix. So out of one comes many. And these many things are conditional. So then what does that make the one thing? The one thing is an absolute thing that has conditions. So you want to talk about this boundless thing. This boundless thing is eternity, not unconditional. It's eternity. And this is why the Quran teaches us the word Summit, Kuhu Allahu Summit, right? Samad, eternal, absolute one. Okay. Now, based on our consciousness, this love is akin to light. Every mystery school tells you about light. Surah 24 in the Quran, Jesus is the light of the world. In the Bible, yes, Ra, the sun god. Yeah, we can just stop right there. Light is an important concept in religion, the Tibetan rainbow body with the Buddhists, and dang sure when you get into the mystery schools. If you go Rosicrucian, Freemasonry, a Mason, when he wear his square, his compass, his letter G, his Masonic emblem, we got to say him like, oh man, you blinded me with all that light, bro. Oh, I see you with all that light. Yes. So light has always been revered as the mystery to God. Well, when we crack this light, or light travels through a prism, i.e., our consciousness, we find that light has 6 vibratory frequencies. Some like to say 7 when they put indigo in it, and that's fine. That's cool. So we come up with 6, 7 frequencies, i.e., colors of this one light. And I always found this to be so beautiful, because forever we are told light comes from darkness, but we were never told that darkness resides in the light. Is it not true what we see on the screen? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet is darker than white. In fact, in paint, red, blue, and green makes white. The dark come together and make the white light. So darkness actually resides in light. See, we keep thinking that darkness is not light. All that exists is the wave. The faster it speeds up determines what's going to happen. It will become what's called the visible spectrum, and then it can speed up past that and it can go invisible from that particular point. Again, it's invisibility on both sides of the visible spectrum of light. X-ray on this side, gamma ray on that side, we're in the middle. Darkness is a frequency of light. Darkness is not the absence of light. Darkness is a frequency of light, or what you will call, let's just deal with crayons, black is a color. What we call color, okay? There's no such thing as absence of light. All that exists is light. The wave. The illusion. See, we're in a beautiful cosmic illusion. You can't tell me we not. The moon is always the same size, but when we look at it, it don't look like it's the same size. You just had a full moon, and now it's going to be a half a moon, and then it's going to be a little crescent moon. The moon don't physically change its shapes. It look like the sun rise in the morning, but it don't. The earth spins towards it. It then spins away from it in the evening time. It then totally got its back turned towards it when it's nighttime. But it looked like the sun comes up and down. You can't tell me we don't live in the illusion. We live in a cosmic illusion. So there's no such thing as the absence of light. All that exists is light. Okay? All right. Now, what does the beautiful Quran say about conditional love? Because I'm going to make the argument that love is conditional. And Allah is definitely conditional. Don't let me go get Jehovah. We really going to get into some terms and condition. At the top, ask for forgiveness of your Lord and then repent to him. Indeed, my Lord is merciful and affectionate. Oh, the mercy and affection is dependent upon what? Me asking for forgiveness and repenting. In the middle, indeed, those who have believed and done righteous deed deeds, the most merciful will appoint for them affection. Oh, the only way I get this affection is what? I believe and I have done righteous deeds. Salawati. Read the bottom. Oh, who have believed, do not take my enemies and your enemies as allies, extending love, affection, while they have disbelieved in what came to you of the truth, having driven out the prophet in yourselves because you believe in Allah your Lord. If you have come out for jihad in my cause and seeking means to my approval, I ain't gonna read the parentheses because that's not there in the text. You confide to them affection, but I am most knowing of which you have concealed and which you have declared. And whoever does it among you has certainly strayed from the soundness of the way. Whoa, that is very conditional. You're not allowed to love your enemy according to this verse. So if love is unconditional and everybody gets it and it's just unconditional love, why is Allah putting conditions on us and we can't even love the enemy? In fact, he told us we have strayed off the path because everything has a condition. Commandments, conditions. I must put you in the realm of condition in order for you to be able to receive the highest thing there is to receive. We don't get something for nothing. Unconditional means nothing. You do nothing. Then that's the problem, because really that's the ideology of the Christian who thinks that Jesus, they don't have to do nothing. In fact, I even heard Charleston White say, man, listen, I'm going to send my ass off and do everything that I want to do and wait to my death at the very end to say, Jesus, please forgive me, because he gets to wipe it all clean. Yeah. Being a Muslim too hard. That's what he said. Yeah, being a Muslim too hard. I can just ask Jesus for forgiveness. So now when you have that mindset, you don't have no responsibility because Jesus already suffered for you. But yet, good and goddamn going well, you do certain things, you still suffer because it's cause and effect. Go commit a crime and go kill somebody. And be like, hey man, Jesus forgave me for my sins. No, you about to go lay down, homie. You about to go do some time. What you talking about? Go commit a traffic violation. Yes? Okay, cool. Tell you, hey, Jesus forgave me for my sins. I shouldn't have to pay this fine. It don't work that way. It's not how it works. You can't get the highest of what God has to give you without being tested, tried, and willing to be tried again. You can't get that. The prophets ain't got unconditional love. They didn't get no unconditional love. They got trials and tribulations. That's what they got. They got, God, Father, please forgive them, for they know not what they do. They killing me. Jonah, I'm out of here. I ain't doing that. I'm gone. What are we talking about here? Every prophet got put to the test. Wasn't no unconditional love. Not with the rainbows and unicorns type of unconditional love. Nah, you're gonna have to put this work in. You got to stand up and go against darkness. What you talking about unconditional love? You gotta stand up and go against darkness. You gotta pledge your allegiance to that. That's the term. So Allah is very conditional because everything in the universe is conditional. H2O, whatever makes plastic, whatever makes paper, all the trillions of cells that we have in our body, dependent upon this, you got ATP transfer, you got all this stuff. Every single thing is made up of something. And that's something at the core that is love, because it's unity at the core. everything needs something else to coexist. There's a coexistence inside of all of the nerves and everything working into the one body, the one unit. There's a unity taking place. This desire of unification is the love. That's infinite. It's not unconditional, it's infinite. It's eternal, hence infinite. Okay? It's yin yang. I am the giver of life and I am the destroyer of life. Two totally diametrically opposing things. Conditional. Everywhere we look. So let's remove the term unconditional and look into eternal. Okay? Now, I haven't even my Sunday class ain't even got into this yet. I'll show you. I really shouldn't even be showing this in the public like that. But I'm going to show you the beauty of the Quran. On the left-hand side, then he completed them as 7 heavens in 2 periods, and he inspired in each heaven its command. There are 7 words used to express love, or some of them get you to love, or byproducts to get you to love. And among his signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth and the diversity of your language and your colors. There go frequency. Indeed, that surely are signs for those of knowledge. See, this is why when the Quran talks like that, right there, hey man, this is a sign for those of knowledge. It's telling you to step your game up, chump. Step your mental capacity up and figure out this riddle, because this is a riddle. This is a parable. Because only those with knowledge are gonna know what I'm talking about. Here goes 7 words in the Quran. Why do I got them stacked this way? I got them stacked. The bigger it is, Rahman is mentioned more times. So Rahman, that you may know as compassion or divine mercy. I like compassion. It's mentioned more than Wali. Wali is mentioned more than Hub or Hub, and so forth and so forth. All right. So I'm gonna get off this because it's really some game inside of this right here. But I'll show you something. For example, Hawa. Let's blow this up. Now in Sufism, you're taught that Hawa is an enemy to your soul, which is desire. So let me show you how this is connected in the Quran. Hawa mentioned 38 times in the Quran and has a numerical value of 21. 21 savage, right? Hawa is defined as desire, falling down, falling in love, air, atmospheric. Considered one of the 4 enemies of Sufism, Hawa is a natural disposition of human nature that can be formed into a loving spirit. Spirit, which is Ruh, R-U-H, is mentioned 21 times in the Quran, which is the same numerical value as Hawa. The desire, which is Hawa, must turn inward and upwards to the spirit as one of our biggest tests, which is what? B-L-U, like Balu. That's blue. B-L-U. It's mentioned 38 times. Wait a minute, but Hawa is mentioned 38 times, y'all. So the word test is mentioned 38 times, meaning our test comes from desires. Let us desire Allah more than we desire anything in anyone else. See, the Quran is a numerical matrix based upon, I'll give you two because you see two. I ain't gonna give you the third one. Based upon the value of the word and the occurrences of how many times it was said. And when these values match, they're telling a whole separate story in of itself now. That's Quran. It's a whole nother level of Quran. Okay. So I can't show y'all nothing else from this. All right. But again, when you look at this, I'm showing you how it is mentioned 38 times. So is the word blue. Or if you want to say blau, which is BLW, that's fine. It's mentioned 38 times, but the value of Hawa is 21. And that's the same value or the times that the word spirit is mentioned 21 times. You get it? So the desire is a desire for spirit, is how you beat it. See, in other words, the Quran is showing you how to defeat certain things when they group them together. Now, on the flat surface, it'll tell you that, hey, surely Allah is most forgiving if you seek forgiveness, and he's most loving. So I gotta seek forgiveness in order for me to get this love. So the Quran says, hey, some verses are literal. They are the foundation of the book. And others are pretty much allegorical. And then it does say those who seek to divide would settle on the part that's allegorical. None know the secrets but Allah. But then it concludes with, but none knows it except those of understanding. There's a certain level of understanding and knowledge that you have to understand it. So the parable is not strictly to Allah. The spirit of Allah is in you. So therefore, guess what? It's in us to figure it out because the spirit of God is in us. So you heard this in Sufism. There's 3 dimensions of a Sufism. Islam, the surrendering, the Iman, your faith, and the Ihsan, which is really Hassan, which they say is spiritual excellence. But I'm going to show you what that spiritual excellence really is. So I like these definitions. Number 1, Ihsan is to worship God as if you see him, and if you do not, then truly he sees you. So you're worshiping God like he see you or you see him. Ihsan is to treat people with kindness, graciousness, and generosity, such as parents, relatives, orphans, the poor, Muslims in general, all creation. Number 3, Ihsan is excellence in striving for perfection in one's actions, whether they be acts of worship, habitual daily acts of interactions with others. I'll talk about that for a minute. I was having a conversation with one of the greats. Where they at in the chat? They didn't switch their handle up in the chat. All right. But we're talking about, can you love without respect? Respect is first. I say, oh, that's interesting. I see it. I understand it. I agree. Ihsan, or I like to just deal with root words. Hassan. Hassan is that respect. The word respect doesn't come in the Quran from the English perspective. Okay. It's clear in today's conversation. I am obviously using the Quran as my viewpoint and my lens as a source of authority. I haven't been able to disprove something in the Quran yet, and it asks you to do it. There's a verse in the Quran that says, disprove it. You won't be able to do it. So yeah, the ego part of me is like, okay, when I catch you slipping, I'm on your head, right? Because truth has to be truth. Okay. And the Quran challenges us to do this. And that's a beautiful challenge, right? So I haven't found it yet. And I'm always amazed at what we call scientific miracles today that is being revealed in the Quran, right? Such as the two oceans that don't mix. The Prophet, alayhi salam, never seen an ocean. Why is that relative to him, ladies and gentlemen? He never seen the ocean. At most, maybe the Red Sea, maybe, if he accompanied the Sahabas to get, hey, go over there to Ethiopia or y'all get out of here. Never seen the two oceans. So the Mediterranean and the Atlantic Ocean don't mix. The Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean do not mix at the bottom in South America. They don't mix. The salt density of the two oceans stop them from mixing. You can Google image this and see these two oceans. It's a clear line that won't allow them to mix. And it's called a halocline. This is in Quran. That had nothing to do with the Prophet. It had everything to do with us. And so when you start seeing these things such as, wait a minute, the sun is 91 million miles away from Earth when we're the closest to it, January 3rd, and we just so happen to be the Earth directly in front of Sirius when this happens. But Surah 91 is the sun. So that means you knew the person who was going to measure it and figure it out. You knew what that measurement was, and you put it in the arrangement of this Quran as Surah 91, waiting for us to catch up to it, where it's relative to us. Because in our time, future generation, we are the one that figured it out. Because they didn't have the math to do it. Well, they didn't discover it. I'll just leave it at that. I ain't gonna say they ain't had the math, but that wasn't their thing to say 91 million miles. So somebody had to come up with the concept of miles to get introduced into the equation and not kilometers. So this is going to talk for those who get on the mile science. You see that? So that's dealing with a future generation. So I use the Quran as an authoritative source for reality. Okay? Okay. Now, inside of that, okay? Inside of that, back to the respect aspect, the Quran doesn't use respect. The Quran uses ihsan. The Quran uses do good. And this is the duty of, and this is that respect, which is right here. And spend in the way of Allah, and do not throw yourselves with your own hands into destruction, and do good. Indeed, Allah loves the doers of good. Do good. Do good. See, I can respect you, but I don't love you because I'm a respectful being. I think I'm a respectful being, right? But that don't mean I love you because I'm respectful, right? In fact, I don't like you, but I'm respectful. So now, how we gauge that, right? When we look at the teachings of Islam and we get to Hassan, this Isan, which root word is Hassan, which Hassan is who? Ali's and Fatima's, the Prophet's daughter, Fatima's first son. So this technically means Hassan is the first grandchild of the Prophet. It means to do good, beautiful, handsome, to do good. So again, here it's telling us that we need to do good, right? Allah loves the doers of good. Being thoughtful, being of course, respectful, right? Being generous, being mindful. Yes. So Clarity texts me and says, "Oh, hey, I ain't feeling too well, and it's a little different for me this year. I don't know what's going on." Okay, I got to check on Clarity today, right? That's being mindful. Muhammad says, "Hey man, I'm going through something. All right, little note. Hey bro, you good? You all right? A little later? Yeah, man, I'm straight. I'm on there. All right, I just can't let that rod, right? Going out of your way was considered out of our way, but that really is the way. But for simple terms, going out of our way to ensure that someone's life become a little bit more easier today. Go feed the homeless. Hey, you good? Man, I just want to tell you I love you and thank you for helping me out, man. Just out the blue, being thankful. Doing things that make you become Hamid, praiseworthy. Hamid is praiseworthy. The only way that you can be praiseworthy is if you are a thoughtful person that's worthy of praise. That action is with the Muslim, the believer. I want to say Muslim, the believer. That action is what the believer is supposed to embody. It's not about what good is zikkering a million times if you still angry, if you're not nice, if you're not compassionate, if you're not thoughtful, if you're not loving. What good is the zikr? The real work is in our actions. That's the real work. That's the real zikr. Is that. It's not this. Yo, you got 1,000 bees. Alhamdulillah, 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 alhamdulillah. I say I'm thankful 1,000 times, but I haven't said thank you to one person. Yo, thank you, scientific mystic, for being that perceived white boy from Rhode Island that's making this music and say, yo, let's do a project together and let's talk history and more science and mop these white boy Confederates up. And you jump in your abolitionist bag with me. Thank you, Desiree Divine, for helping me out and being a beacon of light. And in return, I want you to post what you're doing on the Patreon so people can come and get that service from you. Yo, thank you, Brother Wally, for teaching Arabic 101. And thank you, Janine, for teaching Arabic 101. Because I don't have to teach Arabic 101 no more. I can now stick to translation, which I love to do. Y'all got that part now. Yo, thank you. I appreciate you for that. You understand what I'm saying? The actions in perfecting our character, that becomes the real zikr. Okay? So now that makes me think like, oh, wait a minute. That is actually a great tool to use in relationships. Is this person a thoughtful person? What's the relationship with their parents? Do they have a relationship? And that don't necessarily mean now Islam, Christianity too, Judaism as well. They want us to have a high reverence for our parents. Now, some of our parents may not necessarily be what we deem to be worthy, because Jesus did come and say, man, who? My mama ain't, this my family, my disciples, my family. That ain't my family. What you talking about? If you ain't serving our Father, beat it, kick rocks. I said, whoa, boy, that's cold. That is a truth. I can't act like that's not a truth. Right? But if we are in a space where we can show that affection and that love in that sense, right? And be nice and thoughtful, we're obligated to do that, We're obligated. Okay. All right, moving on. All right. So when you see something like this, the asmal, right, which the root word is sama, which means name. Husna, the root word is Hassan. Sama also means like Sammy, Samawati, Sammy, heavens. But this means beautiful names or the good names. Again, Hassan means good or beautiful, right? So the good names, the 99 names, yes? Let me tell you a secret about the 99 names real quick. I'll tell you a secret about the 99 names. The 99 names we have found, those in the Golden Heart Sunday, specifically Tuesday's class, the Arabic 101 class, we have found out through examining the 99 names of Allah, we have 11 doubles. Al-Ghaffar and Al-Ghaffur. That's a double. Now, you may say the most forgiven, this one means the ever forgiven, but the root word is the same thing. And you see it's forgiving. Yes, you will see something like, what's another one? Kadim, Mukadim. Oh, you didn't do nothing but put an M in front of it. Now, the 99 names is not something that comes from the prophet. He didn't say these are the 99 names of Allah. And the Quran didn't say these are the 99 names of Allah. The Quran said the most beautiful names belong to me. He didn't say these are the 99. So, as the scholars and believers should have done, they should have looked and seen, oh, it says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. Okay, Rahman and Rahim, them his names, because the Quran says the most beautiful names belong to him. So now let's start looking and see what he called himself in the Quran. Oh, surely Allah is Wadud. Surely Allah is most loving. Oh, okay, Wadud, that's another name. Yes, they should have done that. But when you give me 11 duplicates, that makes me wonder, is there room for 11 other ones that's not mentioned? And everything stands by itself. We got 11 duplicates. That's the work. That's the work right there. Oh, that's the work. That's the work. I'm going to leave that alone. That's the work. All right. So I'm going to come off that. Let me bring this back. Okay. So prayer means connection, ladies and gentlemen. Salah. Salah means connection. Yes. I have Imam Ali, son of Hussein, right here, which would be the grandson of Ali. Hussein named his son after his father. Okay. Imam Sajud, because he was always in the prostrating position. He prayed, 1,000 times a day. He was like the prayer warrior. Okay. But prayer means connection. And that makes me think about technology and God, because technology is just a mirror of God. Okay. The human being is technology, right? There's a process when we connect to the server. The server is where all the information is. That's God, right? But there's a process in connection. And I think this is what we got to kind of slow down and pay attention to some things, because we say, well, prayer means connection. Yeah, I'm connected to God. Well, what does that mean, though? Well, in the connection with anyone, there is an exchange of information. Either I'm giving you, that would be called an upload. I'm giving you information, I'm uploading to you. Or I'm receiving, which is download. So one is masculine, the upper. That's why the man is on top when you get into, that kind of energy. And the download is the feminine. So you got to upload and download. Anytime you're connected with somebody, you're exchanging information. Do even with moods, do you boost my mood and my energy? Do we neutralize? And I'm not a fan of neutral because I can be neutral by myself. I'm already at, let's just say today I'm at whatever level I'm on. You keep me on the same level. All right, cool. I was here by myself, right? I want to go up, right? But I perceive to be up, right? Or are we gonna go down? Okay. And that's just moods. And that can be in life, our health, our finances. There's metrics that we can use to gauge the quality of our relationship without a shadow of a doubt. And it don't mean that we won't have both overall, but there's going to be an overall trajectory, a pattern of sort, or whether this is an up or down relationship overall. But my point is, we have to be mindful in our connection to Allah, in our connection with other people, which is a connection to Allah, because again, the spirit of Allah lives in people. Every divine moment is like a divine test. In our exchange, in this connection that we have to be mindful if we are going up or going down, or what am I receiving from this person and what can I share with this person. And sometimes it's just about you receiving and not sharing anything. Sometimes it's the classic woman who wants you to listen, but she don't want you to solve the problem, fellas. She just needs you to listen. And then fellas be like, this is stupid. Right? We solve problems, right? I'm just using that as a joke. Okay. So be mindful of the upload experience. Okay. My last thing I will share with you is a beautiful invitation, Dawah, the golden Dawah invitation, right? I'll give you a little invitation. Y'all ready? You want to see a little invitation? We're going to re-image this particular wall. This wall, I have the Golden Heart Love Center logo on the wall, something just to bring out that love and whatnot. We'll make this an accent wall of some sort as well. So we'll be doing some work, still got some work to do, but just totally redid this space. We're talking about a beautiful private, small but cozy, beautiful 3-bedroom private resident retreat. Okay, 3 bedrooms in the back. That'll be guest rooms and whatnot. Your bathroom is over there. I think it's just no need to share that, and I already shared this on Patreon anyway. But the real beauty of it is back here in this big old yard. Yeah, we talking about redoing this deck. Of course, that is our springtime project. That's the first thing we do in this spring is painting this deck. Don't know what color yet. Some suggest the black. I don't know. Okay, but imagine this whole yard. This whole yard is going to be redone. This is the goal for it. What you now see is AI generated images, but we will have a pond. We definitely are going to have a garden. That's going to be one of the first things that we do. And then we'll have some tiny home sheds that we will incorporate onto the backyard. Okay, so we can come and have a private retreat if that's what you want to do, kind of sleep more outside. I know I am when the weather permits and whatnot. And food garden, herb garden, flower garden, fire pit. We come together, we get able to look at the beautiful stars and the planets, because the way, see that? Ooh, look at that. Look at that. Hold on. Boom. All this light. All right. So yeah, man, I welcome you to the Golden Heart Love Center. Again, as it just said, man, it is a private residence that was one of my rental properties, and Spirit just like, hey man, you got to do what you got to do. It's time to do it. You know what I mean? And that's a part of the vision that you see and whatnot. But what I didn't share on that deck, as you see, needs some paint. So that's our springtime project. As we're about to paint this deck and get this garden popping. And I can't wait to, I say I'm a kidnap him. I'm a kidnap Brother Wally. You know what I mean? But I'm gotta get this garden popping. So I know I gotta eat better and start getting back into my bag when I was vegan years ago. Because I understand that feeling. I may not be vegan again, but I know what it's like to eat of a diet that really gets my energy elevated. I know what that is. And so just being better across the board, period. Services in this particular space, because I got spiritual technology that I've been owning for years, aura machine, see the energy centers in your body, heart technology, which is very important, show you how to balance that energy out and whatnot. And yeah, it's just a it's out of the inner city. It's the last little development. It's a big old cornfield right here and stuff. But it's a little remote little vibe that's right here, regardless to having neighbors in the big old yard that we're gonna do and just convert this space over. So it's the Golden Heart Love Center is what you see. Getting busy on creating. We got our own curriculum already on our Sunday classes and Tuesday classes, now Saturday classes as well. New stuff is constantly being added again, thanks to Wally, thanks to Janine, on the Saturday classes and whatnot. And the goal is just to keep on going, keep on building. But we also have a place to come if you want to get services, and or you just may want to be quiet, or you may say, listen, I'm coming with my birth chart. Well, I need to know this, because some people have to learn from mouth to ear, person to person, in a sense. And I understand that too. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna show you. I can show you better. I can tell you. I promise you that. I know how to get out there and be in alignment and build that temple. And that temple is self and consciousness and that alignment, and show you what that is for you, what the timelines are for you. So just all of that good old stuff that we doing. You know what I mean? So it's basically a little countryside inner city retreat is what it is and whatnot. So any help and financial contributions that you can do on a consistent basis, I own it, and I'm transparent, man. I just tell, I pay a mortgage on this out my pocket, man. You know what I'm saying? And I'm really theoretically could be making. I was making $700 a month off this property before I remodeled it, and I know I can make $1,000 a month off this property, right? So I have to be honest about it, because I'm just honest. I struggle a little bit, and it's a little scary. I'm just gonna be honest about it. You know what I mean? And it's like, yo, you're supposed to be renting this. What are you doing? You're supposed to be getting, boy. You can use the cash. You behind on some things. You know what I'm saying? But get it right. But I believe God really showed me something else with this. You know what I mean? So therefore, I need to heed that call and whatnot. But any help would be greatly appreciated. We own this space. My Sunday class will be the first people to come as a group. Be the first people to come as a group. But if I already know you, or we got a vibe or whatever, in case, you absolutely more than welcome to reach out to me. And if I could be of any help to you, that's what it's about, is being of spiritual service and walking in your destiny. I absolutely believe in the Quran 1,000%. The Quran is an astro book. I can take you to one of my favorite verses, 51:22. In the heavens is your provisions, and everything promised to you, right? And when it says that, that means your car, your money, everything is in the heavens. See, the E-man won't show you where this is at, because he don't deal with this heavenly science. He divorced himself from the Quran. Okay, that was the infiltration. For the Quran to say something like that, you have to know a little bit about something. You got to know how this works, this heavenly law work, right? And that's why the Quran then comes back in Fusilat 41, one of my favorite chapters as well. And then it says that, hey, we inspired in each heaven its command. And inspired mean radio signal. So in the heavens is all your provision, and then there's a signal of information that's tapping into you. And imagine being so blind and cut off that we sitting up here we got the signal turned off, and we supposed to actually hit on, because there's a signal trying to get through right now to us. You get what I'm saying? So no. We can't do that. And so I love showing the glory of the Creator through that. And this is why, again, in the Holy Quran, the Sabians, who are known as, they got a whole thing called Sabian symbols of astrology. The Sabians are people of the book, according to the Quran. They good money because they didn't believe that the planet was God. They believe that this is the way God communicates, and that's verified in the Quran. We inspired in the heavens its command. That's in the Quran. You understand what I'm saying? And so, yeah, that's my thing. I get excited with that. You know what I mean? So hit me up if need be. I'm in the Patreon. That's where I'm at with the patreon.com/noble Anpu. But yeah, inbox me if you feel like I could be of any help to you. And definitely hit that Cash App, Golden Heart Love Center, CTR. A gold heart is going to pop up. So Golden Heart Love CTR. Okay. All right. Do we got any questions real fast? Where we at here? All right. Put my old man glasses on. All right. All right. I got Scientific Mystic. What up? What up? What up? What up? I got Nick Bryant. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Desiree the Divine One. Hope you're feeling better. Let me see. She said in that same space, may not on back completely, but leaning heavy back that way. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you be back. You be back. Reflecto, you good? All right, goodness is key. All right, so we straight. We good? Anybody? We straight? We can get up out of here. We good? I tell you what, just in case you got a comment or something, I do like to do this real quick. If you want to mic up really quick and say your piece, whatever, go ahead and hit that link. I just put it in the chat. And we could do that. If not, then we will get out of here. And what's our ending prayer today? I think our ending prayer is going to be Adiyat, one of my favorite surahs and whatnot. But yeah, we'd love to have you in Sunday's class. Our March project. Each month we doing a project. So our March project is we're writing a poem from our hearts. That's phase 1, strictly from our hearts. And then we're going to go find that theme in the Quran. So let's say you write about love, then go find love in the Quran. Don't find love in the Quran first, then write about it. I want you to write from your heart first. Then go find that theme in the Quran. And then see how it's used in Arabic. And then you have to recite that sentence in Arabic. But if that sentence if that sentence rhymes, then you have to use the next sentence. So now you got to recite 2 sentences. So the whole Fatiha rhymes, right? So if I wrote a poem about mercy and compassion, then I go find it in the Quran. Wait a minute, I see it in the Quran and it says, Bismillahir Rahim. But then I notice the next sentence says, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I'm like, wait a minute. Alameen rhymes with Rahim, right? And then you start reading more. So we go, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Rahman Rahim, a repeat. Maliki Yawmiddin. Wait a minute, that rhymes too. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. That rhymes. Yes. So what comes after that? Iyyaka nasta'in, right? What is it? Suratul Ladina al-Amta alayhim. Okay, it's stretched out a little bit, but alayhim rhymes. Grail Mekdubi alayhim. Double on the alayhim. Waladolin. Wait a minute. You just rhymed on me. But this is the same book, chapter 26, called The Poets. So if it rhymes, it's right, spiritual rap. If it rhymes, at least recite 2 sentences so we can hear the rhyme. If it don't rhyme, just say 1 sentence. So our homework assignment for this month is write a poem from the heart, find it in the Quran, and then recite how it's used in the Quran. And if it rhymes, give us 2 sentences so we can hear the rhyme. That's the kind of stuff we do. Okay. So we good? I ain't got nobody that's micing up. We straight? Okay, then. Listen, man. Happy Friday, Juma Mubarak. I was raised Nation of Islam as my first Islamic school, as a physical. even though I had some Sufi material first. But if I said something to offend you, the goal is not to offend you. The goal is not to be disrespectful. I can't help if you offended, because nobody can control your emotions but ourselves. So let me say this. If I was disrespectful in any way, I absolutely sincerely apologize. That is not the goal. The passion that one may hear in the fire is out of love of truth. We are people who suffer from an identity crisis. I don't want to justify, but maybe I am justifying. But we suffer from an identity crisis. But the truth of the matter is, I would love just to be able to be a part of the solution to get us on the right path. At the core of my message is one of unity. The three religions of the Abrahamic faith is all about unity. I tried my best to show you in the early or Old Testament. The Old Testament is saying that the children of Israel, which means the Muslims who are from the tribe of dealing with Ishmael, in a sense, they're part of God's plan. And the part of God's plan, we have to step up to the mic and we have to go seize. We have to come back to Jerusalem. That can be it should be a physical Jerusalem and a spiritual Zion. Zion is Jerusalem. All right. It has to be a physical Zion and a spiritual Zion. We have a great work to do, whether it be from the spiritual side of prayer or being of inspiration. So the ones who are more on the legislative, physical law side, the loves law and loves going to create motions and affidavits and reading treaties and putting this work in, there needs to be a beautiful collective that takes place. And if I could be a part of that in my message, that's my overall theme, is just to be able to get us on that track and see things in this proper, truthful context. Yes, we had enemies, but we also had allies. I like to know who the enemy was. Since we know who they was, did they get beat? If they currently exist, how do we beat them today? But let's talk. If we're going to talk about things of the past, I want to talk about the allies. I don't want to talk about the enemies of the past, right? I want to talk about how they got beat so we can keep on progressing. Okay. So that's really the vein of my passion in that sense. Okay. All right. We're going to get up out of here. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Cash at me, please. Golden Heart Love, CTR. You're going to see that gold heart pop out, and we're going to get out of here with a prayer known as Adiyat. One day I will explain this prayer to you. One day. Okay. Privately, because it is if you know my works, it is showing you how to activate God's the warrior side of God in a response to things. Okay? All right, I'm out.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعاديات ضبحا فالموريات قدحا فالمغيرات صبحا فأثرن به نقعا فوسطن به جمعا إن الإنسان لربه لكنود وإنه على ذلك لشهيد وإنه لحب الخير لشديد أفلا يعلم إذا بعثر ما في القبور وحصل ما في الصدور إن ربهم بهم يومئذ لخبير